Hello, guys, and God bless you. So, this is part three, and I found some interesting information. And I'm going to go ahead and put this out and just keep going with this. I have not found what I would call a, uh, a deal breaker, as in, hey, this is the evidence, this is how this is happening, this is how this is going, this is what they're doing. I haven't yet. But it's like the Lord is like giving me these breadcrumbs. And, well, last night I ran into a lot of them with a word. And I got this word, this simple word, Vril. And you can Google Vril reptilian and you'll get a bunch of stuff. Okay. And I was like, well, let's just look at this word Vril. And what does this even mean? I had no idea what Vril even meant. So, of course, there's a lot of information and there's a lot of misinformation. What I want to do personally is okay, you have the David Ikes and you have all these other, people. None of them take it back to the Word of God. And that's an issue with me. Okay. So, um, what I want to do is if this is true and this is really happening, I want to know um, how the Word of God reflects all this. And that's my goal. Okay. Or also how how the spiritual realm will confirm things that are actually happening, and that's kind of what I'm doing here. So the simple word viril was very interesting when you start to look at this. So that's what we're going to just look at that word today, okay? And we'll see where the Lord takes it from here. Um, so obviously, in the Word of God, you can mine things out what the enemy is doing. And a perfect example is the parable of the wheat and tares. That's where the Lord actually started me with all of this back in 2012, 13 maybe, was the wheat and the tares. You couple this verse with Satan has a seed, okay, in Genesis, which is Satan's DNA. We know he's got something here. And of course, we put that together with the giants. And then you have the fallen angels who made the giants with the daughters of men. So you have all these things going on, but nothing is spelled out plainly, and that's where that's where the study's going essentially. Okay, so we don't know how the enemy's doing this. We don't know is this a physical thing that these guys are going and getting something put in their eye literally, and that changes them, or is this a spiritual thing with a physical outcome? So there's all kinds of conjectures. I guess that's the word Chuck Missler always used. Conjectures. I'm gonna use that word. Thanks, Chuck, for what's going on here. We know that Satan, as well as God talks to us, and we know through our relationship, we can see some patterns that Satan would copy. So, example, our daily sacrifice, our reading of the Word of God, our praying, our supplication, our living to His laws and statutes is what He desires, and as followers of Him, that's what we do. We know that Satan obviously has copied the same thing, only his sacrifices, of course, are different. They're bloody, they're messy, they're diabolical, they're hatred based, all those things. So does he give power to his people? Obviously, for that. Yes, of course he does. Just as God will give us power to trample on those things through his son, Jesus. And that's kind of kind of the balance of what's supernatural happening and what's physically happening and what's just happening in the spirit. So that's where I'm at. That's kind of how I'm thinking right now. Um, we know that clones, reptilians, Nephilim are among us. We know this. Uh, there were, um, the giants are returning. We know God's prophets have spoken of this. Um, we know the Nephilim have already been here because of what we're seeing in the news, the transmutilations, the combining of the DNA, the glamour babies or whatever they're calling. We know we've seen the shape shifting news reporters. We've seen these things with our own eyes. We've seen these things with our spiritual eyes opening up. We know that this is happening. Um, you could pull up pictures of, you know, I guess like Jennifer Lawrence, a clone of this Egyptian actress. I mean, so we know these things are happening. How they're happening, we don't necessarily know. Um, so that's where I'm at right now. Okay. And looking at this word, Viril, really painted a good picture for me. So let's start with that. Viril. First off, it was a novel, okay, written by this guy right here. And it was Vril, The Power of the Coming Race, published in 1871. This book talks about a guy who falls in a well, and his buddy dies, so he goes down with him to kind of get him, and he discovers a subterranean master race, all right, of beings that resemble angels. And he befriends them and meets them, and they take him around the city and everything else. And this ancient Egyptian architecture is down there. So right away, here we are, you know, um, Viril and this coming race. Obviously, the whole subterranean species. Um, we know that. Oh, let me say something real quick, guys. In the last video, it shows the Groks. If you watched it till the end, it showed the Will I Am character ascending up into heaven. That's not going to happen. I think the Groks misspoke. Everything's coming here to be judged. Everything's coming to the earth to be judged. And that's where God's going to do it. It's here on earth. They may think they're going to ascend after they destroy, and God uses them for their muscle to destroy the earth or whatever. But they're definitely not going to ascend. So I think that's what the character thinks is, I'll come here and wreck it, and then when I'm done, I'm leaving. You're not going anywhere. You're staying here to be judged. Okay, so just that's out of the way. But anyway, so we have this subterranean world. We know Satan cast a third of the angels to the earth. We know this, that Revelation 12 verse is, an evolving process. If you look at that and you read that, it happened then, it's happening now, it's already happened. It's going to happen again. It's such a encompassing chapter. And when I look at that and you think of these things down in the earth, that's Satan's already casted them here. However, so what's coming here in the future is that their spirits coming too, so it's like a constant theme or a constant outside the constraints of time happening. But anyway, Viril. So let's continue with this word because this just gets nuts. So Viril Dox was a comic book character, also known as Brainiac 2. And if you look at this character, it looks exactly like Neo from The Matrix with all the little things plugged into his head. I didn't put a picture of him up, but you can check that out. So Viril Dox, also known as Brainiac, showed a picture of him. Legion. I mean, we are Legion because we are many. So this word Viril just is a treasure trove of stuff here. So virility means marked by strength or force. Satan introduced his seed. What were the giants? Exactly. They were strong and they were undefeatable. I mean, they were there to instill fear into the Israelites. Like, you ain't coming in our territory. This is ours. And also, before the flood, the fear. So anyway, viril, marked by strength or force, health, sturdiness, constitution. This is what Satan desired, his own kingdom. This is what he brought in, his seed. Okay. And then it even goes into Hinduism, virilya, which means strong man, manliness. Okay. Virility. So this just keeps going. Virulence. This is where it starts to get really, really interesting. And what I think this is so far, is this is the physical form of sin in a way. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But what this is, virulence, is a pathogen's or microbe's ability to infect or damage a host. That's sin. Sin causes death eventually. In the context of gene-to-gene systems, often plants, virulence refers to a pathogen's ability to infect a resistant host. In most other contexts, especially in animal systems, virulence refers to the degree of damage caused by a microbe to its host. The word virulent derives from the Latin virilitas, and I'm going to say these wrong, no, you know, whatever, meaning a poisoned wound or full of poison. Let's look at this something. Let's look at something real quick. So check this out. This is darnel. All right, darnel is the tare, all right, in the wheat and the tares. Darnel, poisonous. All right, it's poisonous. So check this out. So it's false wheat. All right, it's referred to as false wheat. We just talked about this. All right, it instead of turning brown when it's harvesting, it turns black. All right. False wheat. Where does that? I said. Okay. So the French. This comes from the French word. The French word for darnel is a viril, and which expresses means intoxicated or drunken. What does the Bible say about drunkenness? Watch and be sober. Do not be drunk. So eating this infected plant, which is poisonous, can be fatal. All right, drunk, fatal, poison. The same stuff we just talked about. All right. This is his seed. This is his infection coming in. And I'll put enmity between the woman and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise the heel. The ability of bacteria to cause a disease is described in terms of the number of infecting bacteria, the route and the body. Oh, yeah, here it is. These all proximate causes of morbidity in the host. All right, this is death. This leads to death. Every man is tempted when he is drawn away from his own lust and enticed. When then lust has conceived, it brings forth sin, and sin, when finished, brings forth death to the host. We are the host, Lord of hosts. Verily, verily, I say unto you that he that entereth not by the door, but into the sheepfold, but climbs up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber of your soul. Okay? But he that entereth by the door, which is your heart, stands at the door and knocks, is the shepherd. Okay? The good shepherd. I thought this was an interesting picture as I was doing my search, so I thought I'd put it up. All right, continuing with Vril. There's also an album by this band called SCH. Never heard of them. Don't know who they are. Not sure. But the album called Vril deals with occult, space, aliens, secret societies, high politics. I mean, this is just. I'm not making this up. All this comes back to this word: viril energy and other dangerous matters. That's the album. This is the album cover. Nazi UFOs had many different code names, subclassification of all these different names, and one of them was Vril. I don't know if you can see that or not. I know it's a little small. When I'm done with the document, I'll put it in the description box for a Google Drive link. Virulence factor are molecules produced by bacteria, viruses, fungi, or protozoa that add to their effectiveness and enable them to achieve the following: colonization, immune evasion, immune suppression, right? Ability to inhibit the host's immune process, entry into and exit out of cells. The Lord showed me a long time ago that not only is our body the temple, but the cells in our bodies are little temples as well. They have the outer wall. They have the Holy of Holies, which is the nucleus. I'm trying to think of the other, the inner cord, outer cord. But anyway, the whole cell is also the temple. So this is entering into the temple. These are invading the host's temples. I guess, the bricks of the temple, whatever, the building material of the temple. I wish I had the picture. I just didn't think of that until now. But entry and exit into out of our cells, and also they feed off the host. So this, I got that cell picture in my mind. I'm sorry, but yeah, like the outer wall, the inner wall. You can look at the anatomy of a cell and tie it right back to the temple or the tabernacle as well. Not just our bodies, but also the cells of our bodies. And that's exactly what's going on here, guys. All right. So another little subparagraph that was under virulence factor was this destructive enzymes. Some bacteria, such as produce a variety of enzymes which cause damage to the host tissue. Is this what we're seeing around the eye? I don't know. Again, putting all these things together. Virilization or masculinization is the biological development of sex differences. Virilization, changes that make the male body different from the female body. Most of the changes of virilizations are produced by androgens. And again, we have the male-female resemblance here of the Baphomet. And also, of course, to go along with that, we have the confusion, the Babylonian confusion here of, am I male, am I female, how do I identify? It's almost like someone once told me Satan is a mad scientist. And that is probably one of the wisest things somebody's ever said to me, because when you look at this from a science perspective, he's manipulating the flesh, he's manipulating the body, and all these things he is manifesting in the body. So anyway, we ended that video the other day with Barack Obama, as we all have a real little reptilian in us. And it's like this virus, this sin. If you look over here in the eye of Horus, which of course is like, the pituitary gland, the P-shaped organ there, coming out is the serpent, and you have this serpent coming out of it. Now the Groks will talk about this needs to be cut out and removed. Only Jesus Christ can do that. I want to show you one more thing that talks a little bit about the DNA and the changing of the DNA from the Groks.
I'm not a human being too. And it shows this thing right in the middle, right here, looking like a butterfly for transformation. Remember this guy? Now, for anything like this to be real, it would have to be on a giant scale. I mean, universal. Well, over here at Area 51, known as Groom Lake, we're going to go over here. Here's the coordinates for it if you want, up in the right-hand corner of Wikipedia. This is Groom Lake, right here. Now, they've showed this same situation of that thing in the movie Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. And something about that skull and the things, it just shapes everything around. Well, let's dig in here. Here's Area 51. They do this right on the ground, just like the Nazca lines. If you've never heard of that, it's down in Peru, where there's lines that are mapping out almost the future coming. I've mapped out a lot of that down there, and it shows all of these exact same things. It maps out star maps. Here they are doing something, and these little clowns are the clones. And they are doing something with this dog, which represents the dog star Sirius. Here is an alien guy, and they're doing something in this box. Right there. You can see that. You can see him right there. See that guy in that box? Okay, well, they don't stop there. See how it has like a DNA thing going on up here? Well, let's go on up there. Let's make this a little bit brighter. There he is. Remember we showed the album cover? There he is. There he is right there. Is this not freaky or what? One of the wildest things, I've been showing this for like 4 years. I just think that it's amazing that on my channel we kind of have proven that the world doesn't really care. They don't care. Very, very few people care about any of this stuff, or even about Jesus Christ, or about finding the truth. It's all right in front of us. It's unfortunate, but it also proves that the devil can trick us all very easy. That's the guy right there. Well, it doesn't stop there. They have something they're doing here. They're mapping things out. See him right there? Well, let's go ahead and do this. Because that's the whole head right there. That's what it looks like. It has the whole mountain here done this way. Papoose Mountain. See how it's right there with the mouth perfectly right there? Now, there's a human head over here. See the human head? That Groom Lake, the Groom. Well, let's go in here a little bit more. So this guy is in his mouth. See how that's him in the middle? That guy? Let's take him out of there. There we go. So there you go. That's what they're making. Clones. The alien and human mixed together. Right there. It's all real. It is really going on around us. I'm not faking this. This is traced. Look at that. That's all right there. We just verified all this. I've had older videos where I've sat here and I've traced it out with everybody, and we all do it together. It's all right there. The alien, the human, and the clone thing right in the middle. They're doing things with the DNA. Find that other thing again. Just like that. Well, let's get a third part of verification. It's been in another music video by another band. So let's go look. Okay, this is another separate band of Monsters and Men. Little Talks. And it shows when a stone comes down. There goes the stone. And you can see like the ram horns or the bull horns on this ship coming. Oh, let's get out of here. There's the crash stone.
Notice their eyes.
And something comes out of it. It cracks open. And there it is. The jester. Just like that. Verified again on a different one through here. This is called Of Monsters and Men, Little Talks, and it shows them making a trip, getting back to heaven through there. But that's verified over and over again. That guy right in there. There he is. Remember his head? There he is, ready to go down into Obama. And this should be this way. I mean, somebody had to make all the nukes, to prepare all this. Everything had to be set up all around the world.
All right, guys. Take care and God bless.